Alright, in this lecture, we're going to go over how to use detail and value to create space in your drawings. So we're going to be drawing a picture of a mountain range with a forest in front of it. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we want to do is we want to sketch out where we want our mountain range to be. So I want it to go about in the middle of my composition. So I'm going to have one mountain right there. I have another one that comes right here. Like so. And then I'm going to have a second mountain range behind that. So I'm going to go ahead and create another mountain range back here. Like so. And then I want to go ahead and draw in where my trees are going to be. So basically they're going to be pine trees, and so they're basically going to be tall, skinny triangles. So I'm going to sketch those in just by sketching in some basic triangles. Alright, so next what I want to do is I want to start with my foreground. So my foreground is whatever is closest to me. And this is going to be the darkest thing on my image because it's the closest. The further away things get, remember, they get lighter. And so this will be our tree line right here. So we're going to go ahead and fill these in really dark, and I'm going to speed this section up because this is going to take a little while. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so now that we have our tree line put in, and this is the darkest part of our whole entire image, we're going to go ahead and move on to the second layer of our mountain range. So like I said, there's two layers. There's this first one, and then there's this one behind it. So this first one is going to be lighter than these trees, but it's going to be darker than these back mountains. This first layer of mountains is also going to have more detail than this back layer of mountains. So let's go ahead and get started. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and decide where the edges of my mountains are. So we need to divide this so we can add in some highlights and values in there. Alright, now let's go ahead and let's start adding in some highlights and shadows. So I'm going to go ahead and start with this side, and I'm just going to slowly start shading that in. And don't forget, we want it to be lighter than our tree layer. now I'm going to go ahead and darken these edges just a little bit more so we have a little bit more definition. And then I'm going to go ahead and add a layer of value over the top of all of this, a darker value. So that way we have a darker mountain so that these mountains back here can stand out a little bit more. And then just really quick, we'll go back over all of these shadows on our mountain just to darken them so they stand out a bit more also. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of a darker contouring line across the top of this mountain range. So I'll add that in right there, that in right there. All right, perfect. Now let's go ahead and move on to these background mountains. So I'm just going to go ahead and very, very lightly fill those in. All right, and now this drawing is basically done. Now, if you wanted to spend hours and hours making a drawing like this look amazing, you wouldn't necessarily have these contouring lines along these edges, and you would have a lot more detail on it. But for now, we're just going to leave it like this because I just wanted to demonstrate to you how you use value and detail to create depth and space in your image. So first off, let's talk about how we used the values in our drawing. So we started with our trees, which are the closest things. And the closer things are, the darker we want the value to be. So the trees are the darkest part because they're the closest. Then the next darkest part is this first mountain range. It has the most value compared to this background mountain. And this background mountain has almost no value at all. And then the thing that has the least value is the sky. Now, in every case, it's not going to be exactly the same. Like, you can have something white in your foreground, or your background sky might actually be dark grays because it's a cloudy, stormy day. But generally, the further something is away, the lighter it's going to be. And then let's talk about detail. So our trees have some detail, but not too much because they're really dark. And then we look at our mountain range. The first layer of mountain range has a lot of detail. You can see all the shadowing on it. You can see where the edge of the mountain is on each one of these peaks. But then if we have a look at these mountains that are further away, there's really no detail on them at all. We just see the contouring line on top of them. And then we just have a value that filled them all completely in with the same exact value. So there's not really any detail because of how far away they are. Now, if you wanted to take it a step further, you could also blend this value into your sky just slightly. So it would just be a very light blend like so. And that way it would sort of soften that edge and make it look a little bit out of focus. All right, that brings us to the end of this lecture. So in this lecture, you learned how to use value and detail to create space in your drawings. So what I want you to do now is I want you to redraw this image, or you can even go outside and find something to draw, such as a car with a building behind it, whatever you want, and try to apply this to it. So make whatever is closest have darker values, and whatever is further away have lighter values. Also, make the things that are close up have more detail, and the things that are further away, give them less detail. Thanks for watching this lecture, and I really look forward to seeing you in the next one.